Hi everyone. It's the home stretch for the course basically. You've submitted your final outline or draft, and I've given you feedback on that now, so you're all pretty well on your way to submitting that. Some of you were so comprehensive in that stage that all you have to do is tweak a few things anyway and submit. So this clip here is going to be quite short. I'm just going to touch base on a few administrative things for that final submission. I'm going to include a checklist of things you need to look out for when you actually do submit, because everything's kind of expected on this thing. And then I'm going to spend a little bit of time just setting up the final quiz component of the class. It's not actually a formal quiz, it's just done in the quiz section. That's the process reflection. All the quizzes are done to this point. You've finished quiz 5 yesterday if you decide to do it at all, because the top 4 or 5 grades count. So all that remains is the process reflection. It's super simple. I'm just going to walk you through what that might look like. So the first thing I want to touch base on is the final paper. It's due on Thursday. I want you to be able to finish this before Good Friday and Easter and all that other stuff that's going to go on here. You've already, for most of you, finished most of this project. So I want you to get that in so I can get you some feedback and you can focus either on other courses or focus on getting that process reflection done and then reviewing a little bit of what we've done for that final exam or in-class assessment or whatever. Next week's clip is going to cover that exclusively, so you'll have a good idea of what you're getting into on that thing. The thing I want to highlight here, though, is that there will be no extensions for the final paper. I'm going to repeat that. It's in the notes already, but it's worth repeating. There are no extensions on the final paper. You've had over a week to already process the feedback that I've given you and to work on this thing. We've been working on it for weeks. And by the time you go to submit this on Thursday at midnight, you're going to have had over a week and a half between each stage to touch up what you've done. Get it in, get it done. Some people have really been abusing the extension component of things, even though I've already extended the assignments previously. So I'm not extending this one. There's a late penalty of 10% per day, and that starts the second that the 10th hits. This thing needs to get in, and I'm not chasing you all around trying to get you to finish this thing. There are a couple of circumstances where this might have to be bent a little bit, but they're going to be rare. I forgot, I haven't started, they're not going to fly anymore. You guys have gone through a lot of work already. You're mostly in a good spot. Don't procrastinate on this. Get it in. Plain and simple. The final paper itself is a culmination of everything we've talked about in class. Everything we've been discussing will be expected on that paper. So whether that was the in-class portion of this course or the weird online component of the course, those lessons will be expected. I'm not following them all in great detail, but ultimately we're building up to the final product anyway. So the more that you can crystallize that and make sure that it's in there, the better. The next slide is going to show you a checklist of what I'm looking for. This assignment, if you need reminding, is worth more than anything else this semester. It's almost worth as much as the first 3 assignments combined. It's worth as much as all the quizzes combined, and it's worth more than the final exam, quote unquote, that we're doing for the course, or the final assessment, whatever you want to call it. This final paper, when you submit on Thursday, is worth 20% of your final grade. You also cannot pass the course without completing this assignment. It's just kind of the way it works. When I say completing this assignment, it's completing all stages of the assignment. So please submit this. You've already done a lot of the work. Get it to me, please. In terms of what I'm looking for, this is just a brief checklist. The introduction has to be solid. The introduction background section, most of you guys are good on this, but if you don't know how to even approach this, review the problem gap hook PowerPoint that's in class materials, because frankly, we've been talking about this all semester. It's been expected on almost every written assignment so far. That's not going to change as we go forward. Your body paragraphs, I'm expecting lots of analysis on these guys. We've been talking about analysis more than anything this semester. You need to be able to explain your logic. It has to be accessible to a reader. Make it seem like we're just chatting over coffee or a drink or whatever. Make it analytical and deeply exemplary of all the research that you've done and the thinking that you've put into this paper. Conclusions and recommendations. The video lecture from a couple of weeks ago covered this, but the conclusions and recommendations are a super integral component of this paper. Make sure that they're solid and they give me more than just the summative fluff that would have been expected, say, on a high school 5-paragraph assignment. Examples, we've talked about integrating examples. Some people are still struggling with this, even though we've been covering this for like literally 7 weeks. You need to be able to work with the examples and build them into your body paragraphs. Whether that's a quote, a paraphrase, stat, whatever, it has to be in there in a tangible way. Headings and subheadings are kind of already set up if you worked with the template that was provided online. You just need to tailor it to your specific paper. Multimodal elements, not everybody's going to have this, but if you do choose to bring in something that's either audio or visual or whatever, make sure you're labeling it, you're citing it properly, and you're guiding me accordingly. You need in-text citations, even though they're super simple with IEEE, you're just your 1s, your 2s, your 3s, whatever. And the reference list must be in IEEE format. Do not submit a list of just a bunch of URLs. It needs to be a properly formatted reference list in IEEE. So please get that into me this coming Thursday. Get it in by midnight. I'll get you some feedback as quickly as I can. I want to make sure that when I submit the feedback, you're getting a proper reading out of it. That I'm going to be paying the utmost attention to the final product. This is the best you can do. That's what we're kind of focusing on here. When I give feedback at this stage, I am not giving you a bunch of constructive stuff like, oh, you should have done this and should have done that. You've already received a lot of that this semester. Most of my feedback, it might be a quick comment on the content of your paper. Usually it's pretty complimentary. And then it usually thanks you for the end of the semester or something along those lines. So the substantive feedback is in the previous versions that you submitted. I'm not going to beat you over the head with what you did wrong. If something really falls off, then I might provide a little bit more critical feedback. But for the most part, you're not going to get anything that's going to tell you to change the world when you actually move on from this. Forget it. You've already done the work. I'm not going to be building in a whole bunch of new concepts when I give you feedback here. The process reflection is already open. It's going to be open until April 17th. You can find this under quizzes, and it's listed as process reflection. It's not rocket science. It's a reflection on the process that you underwent for the final paper. So you did the outline, you did the proposal before that, and you submitted the final paper. You did research on one topic for all 3 stages. You received feedback on all 3 stages. This quiz, reflection, whatever you want to call it, is essentially a reflection on the process that you undertook through there. It's 3 questions. I'm going to make this as easy as I can on you. You submit this thing. I'm going to try and give you as high a grade as I can. I think it's worth 5%. I get to give you a grade out of 5 or something like that. If you submit this, I'm trying to get you anywhere between 3 and 5, guaranteed. That being said, I don't want just any knockoff answer. I want you to have a legitimate answer, make it a small paragraph, make it something that's worthwhile. And I'm going to show you what all that looks like here right now. So if you go to our course shell, I know this isn't your course shell for everyone, but it's going to look the same for everybody that's watching the clip. You go to course tools, you go to quizzes, you're going to see process reflection here. It's going to open up on April the 5th. So I have to get out of here and look at it as an instructor, unfortunately. And there are going to be 3 questions. So none of this is relevant to you, but process reflection. And the 3 questions are these. The first, how did the earlier stages of your research project help you to produce the final draft of your research project? So you can focus on any of these. You can focus on them as a whole. I don't really care what you do. Just make sure that you're answering this in depth. It would be great if you could even draw on an example, just like you were doing a normal quiz, from your own process. Okay? Second question, pretty simple. Identify one aspect of the research project process that was challenging for you, and explain how you tried to overcome this challenge. The tendency here, I think, would be for you to bullshit this question, but try to maybe focus a little more deeply on it, in the sense that I've given you some sort of constructive feedback at some stage, whether that was me going, as you go into the outline from the proposal, I'm going to be looking for this, or here's something on the outline that I've noticed, or in your draft that I've noticed, that you'll want to address as you move into that final submission. Just reflect on one thing that maybe jumped out at you, or that you focused on the most. Everybody had something like this, so make sure that you're reflecting on that sufficiently. And then, what did you learn about the process of developing a large project in stages, and how can this experience help you to be successful on future academic or professional projects? This question here is definitely a bullshit question. You need to just make something up here, paint a pretty picture with some sort of rainbows and butterflies or whatever. Just get me an answer, a small paragraph, make me laugh. Yeah, please make me laugh. And I'll just give you the grade, okay? So pretty simple. There's no rocket science in this. Just get this thing done. So I'm going to end this off by just stating that basically we're done. The marks are basically going to be in after you finish that final submission. You're not going to have any major opportunities to kind of make up grades or whatever, so make the most of the opportunity now. Next week's clip is going to be even shorter than this one. We're going to focus almost exclusively on the way that the final exam or final in-class assessment is going to work. It's not going to be in class by any stretch of the imagination. I'll explain it all next week. Until then, I'll talk to you guys later.